Time Entertainment, we celebrate the 43-year reign of the speed metal kings, Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage for the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
Post-game reaction time for Auburn men's basketball in their game versus NC State. The Tigers are victorious over Will Wade and the Wolfpack. Let's talk about it. The score, the stats, the storylines, all that coming up right now. War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, and we discuss, share the Auburn experience. All about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it, though. If it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to be doing today on our live reaction show here on YouTube, Facebook, X, wherever else is broadcasting, to break down Auburn men's basketball versus NC State post-game show for the score, the stats, the storylines. Your Auburn Tigers are victorious, 83 to 73. A 10-point victory for the Auburn Tigers in the ACC SEC Challenge. Well, it should be SEC ACC Challenge, but I digress. Auburn produces a point in that challenge for the SEC, doing our part. Whether or not others did as well is up for debate, but the Auburn Tigers handled their business on their home court, defeating the Wolfpack. So the agenda, as always, is we're going to go through not only how we got to the score, the individual stats, the team stats, and then we'll talk about storylines, talking points that you may or may not have within that. So don't be shy if you're watching live. Come on in. Let us know that you're here. Start the show off by letting us know where you're watching from on the War Eagle, and certainly give your points that you'd like to have brought up on the show throughout the stream on the live portion. If you're on the replay, you can do that as well, but we won't be able to interact with you. But you certainly can still offer your thoughts and opinions. And please, no matter where you're watching, when you're listening, how you're listening, hit that like button, that share button, and continue to follow along here for the Auburn experience. So, yeah, we'll walk through individual stats, team stats, all that good stuff here. What I want to start the show off with every single time, if I can remember to do that, is I want your player of the game. Obviously, these are much easier to give in victories. So who is your player of the game? You can type POTG. Had to think about it there for a second. It's a little bit late. I'm tired. It's been a busy day. Been a busy week. Been a busy couple weeks. POTG, player of the game, and that person's name. Type that in. Let's see what the chat that's watching live wants to think about that. Even if you've already shared it before the stream started in our chat, go ahead and do that now so we can get a good accounting of what people are thinking, who they want to put up for that. We're going to see if we could come up with that based off scoring everything else. My goodness, the ball was flying around a lot today for both teams, but more so for the Auburn Tigers. This very much, you could say this is a tale of two halves based off some particular stats and things like that. And I've already seen some discrepancies about things in team stats compared to what this felt like at times. The second half, it really felt like this was Auburn's game to just run away with, if not for some timely shooting from NC State. You probably could just say it was over with to begin with because of Overton. Tonight, your leading scorer, Kevin Overton, 29 points on the day, a career high here at Auburn. I think 13 was his previous highest, they said on the broadcast. I don't know where he stood at in Texas Tech, if that is anywhere close to where he's been. My guess is probably not. You don't see too often people almost in the 30s, if not in the 30s altogether, and no matter how good they are. 29 points for Kevin Overton tonight. He leads the way and is probably your likely candidate for player of the game, as many are you already typing it out there and sharing your thoughts about that. 29 points, 8 for 13 from the field, 6 for 9 from the three-point arc. He makes all of his free throws, 9 rebounds, 1 shy for the double-double. Could we not get the man a free B rebound? Like, I mean, come on. Only one personal foul, no assists, no turnovers in 37 minutes to play. He plays the most tonight, aside from Keyshawn Hall. And whatever his, percentage of scoring to time is probably incredible. Absolutely outstanding day for Kevin Overton. I think you were probably going to give him the player of the game no matter what, because we just don't see Kevin doing this type of offensive scoring as often. Now, I have warned you all, and those of you that are dismissing him, that if you've been watching how this goes, Kevin is really in that spot, that third, fourth, sometimes fifth slot on a typical basis of scoring, and a lot of times still in double digits, even in that fifth spot. And he is kind of a key piece to making this whole thing go. And just what happens when he pops off for a night of 23. Ooh, boy, it was a thing of beauty to watch here. So he's quietly been a favorite of mine on this team. People keep asking me, going into the season, who is your favorite player, Kyle? Who are you most interested in? And, I went Keyshawn Murphy just because I value his SEC experience. And I think that's, obviously replacing Janai Broom and Dylan Cardwell is the most interesting, not matchup, but just dynamic there. How does he do in those slots? But Kevin Overton has been a quiet favorite of mine. I'm so happy to see that he has done that. 29 points for him tonight, 9 rebounds, almost a double-double. Outstanding day. I think we're going to not struggle to find someone as worthy, because we're going to talk about that person next. But we've also talked about this person raising the level of their play and raising the level of our expectations of their play so much that they almost have to outdo themselves to impress us at this point, because he's already that's Keyshawn Hall. Keyshawn Hall tonight with 28 points. Just behind him came on a tear. I bet that was most of that in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. Not only does he score one less than Kevin Overton, a couple of his three-pointers are just in the corner, just not even looking. I mean, my goodness, the dude just threw it up there. If I can point out to you with the clock going down, he turns around, basically a no-look shot. Folks, that's not luck. That's skill. Some of you, sure, okay, look, you could say there's an element of luck to it as well, but that's just practice and self-awareness as a shooter of where you are on the floor and knowing what you've got to do, what position you've got to put yourself in, even in a quick split second in the air, and release it before the clock goes off, to be able to accomplish something like that and make it look good and not just like luck. That looked good. So credit to Keyshawn Hall tonight. 28 points, 9 for 14 from the field, 5 for 7 from the three-point arc. He makes all of his free throws too, 10 rebounds, so a double-double for him. So, and he does have 6 turnovers in the day, 1 assist, 1 personal foul in 36 minutes of play. So you might even be able to argue that his stat line is just about as equal as Mr. Kevin Overton tonight, but he has a few more knocks on him, especially those 6 turnovers. So even with just discussing the feelings about how nice it is to see Kevin do something like this and Keyshawn kind of matching it a little bit, we're still going to give it to Kevin Overton, because, boy, he was just on a tear tonight. But great for Keyshawn Hall as well. I was going to bring this up in a little bit, WT, so we'll get there. It's about Pettiford. Actually, we can do that in just a second. That's your only 2 in double digits. Both of those guys got almost 30 points tonight. So that's just wild to look at there. But your next leading scorer, Sebastian Williams-Adams, 100% from the field. He's got 4 assists to lead the team on the day. I feel like we've seen this before with Sebastian Williams-Adams, where he has done some things that you wouldn't expect a big guy to do, such as dishing the ball out really well. So Sway, I just need to call him Sway, 7 points, 4 assists. He gets only 1 rebound on the day, 3 turnovers, 27 minutes of play. Pretty solid day for him. Then you got 2 guys with 6. You got Elijah Freeman, who had another highlight dunk. I think we all saw it. We all oohed and awed after that one. It's kind of like becoming Keyshawn Hall. We know he can do it. So now he's got to up his game even more. So Elijah, pretty, considering what everybody else did outside of the 2 that almost scored 30, a pretty decent day. Tahad Pettiford, and this is obviously what WT wanted us to talk about. Someone told Tahad Pettiford he was at home tonight. And we've been joking about that this entire time, that you start the season off and you see Tahad and what people are like, oh, it's a sophomore slump. And then you're like, well, we go on the road and he has a pretty decent game. We come back and he's back in it again. And then we go to this tournament out in Vegas and he just lights it up. He's the leading scorer all 3 nights. And then we return home here. He only gets 6 points. Now, for whatever reason, and 4 of them are from free throws. He shoots a lot less 3-pointers tonight. Shoots a lot less field goals. Only makes 1 of his 7. He rebounds 3, assists 1, 31 minutes of play. So it's not like he was lacking on minutes. It seems like Tahad tonight was kind of just doing what needed to be done. But someone apparently did tell him that, yeah, you are playing at home, so you can back off just a little bit. And certainly he seemed to have done that. Are we going to see this trend continue? I don't know. It sure seems like it at this point. It can't be coincidence, can it, at this point? Because we've seen the team be at home, go away for a big tournament, and then come back. And this pattern continues to happen. So it's just wild at this point to continue to watch that. We're not going to address that one in the comments. But Todd Pettiford tonight with 6 points. The rest of your scoring on the evening, Keyshawn Murphy with 3. He makes a 3-pointer, 1 rebound for him. The stats for the individual stuff here tonight is just wild because it was entirely ate up by Kevin Overton and Keyshawn Hall. Magwood with 2, Jovic with 2. Blake Muselik gets in for 2 minutes, but doesn't have any scoring. Glad to see him continue to get some minutes, though, there. So no Simon Walker tonight, it looks like. Now, before we move on from individual stats, because I know we want to talk about some of the team stats tonight, and there are some things in there that we need to address with some things that weren't great. The team did have, I think if I remember correctly, the quote being from Coach Pearl, the half of the team was missing in some form or fashion from preparation this week because of an illness that was running through the locker room, essentially. And so you had that going on. You had some people that were still kind of nursing some injuries here and there. You play what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you usually play your 10 guys, maybe your 11. Basically everybody, the normal players for the most part, get in tonight. But all that to be said, there was a little bit of a issue going in with health for this game, even outside of injuries and things like that. Using this to kind of springboard out that, it seems to be a mental block that the early games reinforce. He just needs to have a breakout game to get over the home performance. Talking about Tahad. I think he's due for one at this point. What is it? The law of averages. At some point, it's got to go back the other way. So Tahad's due for a big home game, and people are going to love that. And here's the thing. It'll probably be the biggest home game of the season whenever that happens. We got Arizona up next and some other games coming up here, but one out in Purdue. So it'll probably be that first big SEC game where he really just pops off and everybody will just lose their minds. So there's your individual discussion, kind of moving into our team discussions tonight. Reminder of how the scoring broke down. 35-41. Auburn led at the half. In the second half, they outscored NC State 38-42. Credit goes to NC State and Will Wade for making it a fight here within the confines of Neville Arena and doing a really good job of that. Whether you'd like Will Wade or not, he's a great basketball coach. And he has won everywhere he went, LSU, McNeese State, and he's other places as well. But the most recent ones, and now NC State. I was really excited for this matchup, and I wish I had been able to be there in person for this, just because NC State also has a good pedigree as it is as a basketball history, obviously with Jim Albano and things like that. So there's the scoring breakdown. Team stats time. You all know the drill. Say it with me. The big 3 is where we're going to start. Free throws, turnovers, and rebounds. And then we're going to also look within the team stats as we walk through it. Where is the stat that tells the tale of the tape, or won the game, lost the game? It may be one of the big 3, but oftentimes it's not. Let's see what we can find here. The big 3 will start with free throws. Look at this tonight. Absolutely great night from the free throw line. So Unbeaten Lake says we got to do better on free throws. Unbeaten Lake, you and I are going to disagree on that. Now, as a team over the, history that we've had following this team here on this channel and this program, I should say. And this year, at times, they have needed to do better. My high watermark, because I know that's going to mess up one of my viewers, the high expectation I have for for the Auburn Tigers is 80% on the night. They get 86%. Shooting 19 of 22, free throws 85% for NC State, 11 of 13. So they only missed 2. We only missed 3. Pretty good night of free throw shooting. This is actually something that you can write home about and go like, we saw good fundamental basketball in this area at the very least tonight. So Auburn wins that one by the skin of their teeth. Turnovers. This is the big thing that a lot of you wanted to talk about tonight. Some of you have already brought it up. John has. There are a bunch of bad mistakes, like number of turnovers mainly, but overall really like what the guys showed tonight, certainly. Overcame some of these things like what we're about to talk about. Turnovers, 9 to 20. And what was it, like 13? At least 12. 13 in the first half, which matched our season high, I think is what it was. So this is the new season high. This is horrendous. Auburn loses this category by a differential of 11. This happens on the road, you lose. No questions asked. You'd have to shoot amazing, do other great things to overcome that. That is horrendous. That is awful. If there was conversations about Coach Pearl on the broadcast banging his fist on tables, and that's probably the best case scenario of what he could and probably should have done, given the amount of times the ball was just lackadaisically thrown away. Let me go back to what I said earlier. I'm not making excuses. We're just trying to talk about the whole context of everything here. The team had a little bit of that coming back from that tournament, the holiday, the little bit of that letdown. We're getting back into the routine of things before we go back out of the routine of things for the other holidays. You have this bug that's going through the locker room. You get a little lackadaisical because you're at home. You can understand why this happens. Not excusing it. Hear me out on this. Not excusing it, but understanding where it comes from. 9 to 20, Auburn definitely loses that category. And then finally, in rebounds, Auburn wins by a significant enough margin, 22 to 35. Auburn wins that category. So 2 out of the big 3, they win tonight. Pretty even in free throws. 2 big discrepancies on the other side. So you can almost see where that kind of counteracts each other. The turnovers where Auburn significantly lost, they significantly made up for in rebounds tonight. And a lot of that came from defensive rebounds because offensive rebounds, NC State won. So that's the big 3 tonight on that one. Let's look at the rest of the team stats and see if we can figure out where the big stat is. 59% from the field tonight for Auburn to 41% for NC State. Pretty good shooting by both teams tonight. 3-point percentage, 55% for Auburn. 12 of 22, that's pretty good. 33% for NC State. 1 out of every 3 is not the worst thing in the world you can do, but it's not going to be enough to match 55% for Auburn. And honestly, the crazy thing about this is if Auburn just doesn't have his turnovers with the way they were shooting tonight, and by they, I mean mainly Kevin Overton and Keyshawn Hall, it was going to be a blowout if that doesn't happen. So that really counteracted that a little bit. Points off of turnovers tonight. NC State doubles is up there. Looking at second chance points, dead even there. Bench points is barely not barely, just enough in Auburn's favor. There was not a lot of bench points tonight for either team. Points in the paint, NC State won. They won also fast break points by a small margin there too. Auburn hits 2 to 9 blocks, pretty significant there. 14 steals for NC State to Auburn's 3, which is just wild to look at. Those kind of counteract each other. Assist is 14 to 10, so pretty close there too. So that kind of gives you a picture of it. All of the different team stats right there. There are a couple of discrepancies that are significant enough to point out, but I think you really just got to look at whether you want to just talk about the the field goal percentage or just the 3-point percentage alone. When you're making 1 out of every 2 3-pointers and you're shooting 20 of those in the night, you're just going to win a lot of basketball games at home. So I think that's probably got to be the big stat of the game. but I'm very happy to see. I'm very discouraged by the turnovers, but I'm very pleased by the free throws. So they kind of counteract each other. But there's a lot to like from this game. There's also a lot to be frustrated about in what we didn't like, what we saw, especially in the first half. But overall, pretty good day. And it was exciting to see guys like Kevin Overton do what they needed to do to cement their place on this team, at least in the fans' mind of how important they are for this team. And Keyshawn Hall just does Keyshawn Hall things again. All right. We're not done talking about this game and this team. We want to take some more of your commentary, especially some of the things that we haven't addressed yet. We'll look back through, but the best thing you can do is keep bringing your comments up. If you've got anything that you'd like for us to expound upon, talk a little bit more about, we can take a little bit of a leap forward if you want to, but not too much. We're really just focused on this game and the results. While you're thinking about those things, continue to hit the smash the like button, all that kind of stuff, the share button if you haven't done that already, wherever you're watching. And subscribing if you've not done that as well. If it's your first time here, we do these for most basketball games right after the game. So please join us for that in the future. Here's your upcoming planned and tentative plan. I need to remember to start saying that, especially in this season of life that I'm in. Schedules for live streams. Next up, this Saturday, we're out of football season, by the way, if you didn't know, for at least Auburn. Auburn versus Arizona. Currently the number 2 team in the land. Auburn has an opportunity here to go not only to get a quad 1 win, but probably their most impressive win that they could get all season outside of conference play. So this is a huge, huge one. Certainly I expect Arizona to be favored. I expect Arizona probably would win this one, but this is a huge opportunity, and I think this team is capable of. So tune in for a late night game and a late night post game stream where we're going to talk about it, breaking it all down, and hopefully talking about a little bit of an upset win down there in Tucson, Arizona. The Auburn Experience live podcast recording Sunday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Join us for that, episode 153. Austin and myself will be back in the saddle, probably talking a little bit about National Signing Day, the week that was in basketball, and everything else that we can in Auburn Potpourri to catch you up on Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. You know it. If it's orange and blue, it is what we do. All kinds of other content that you can get throughout the week from us. Even though football season's done, we are going to be pushing heavy into basketball here, but there's still plenty to discuss here tonight. Let's talk about what you guys have left here in the chat tonight. Steven says 9 blocks and only 9 turnovers by them. So not grabbing the blocks, I guess. I don't know. This is Unbeaten Lake. One day, Steven is going to topple over the scores table out of pure anger. A lot of discussion about that tonight from our announcers. And wouldn't you, right? If 20 turnovers in general, just for the whole game, is ridiculous. But the amount that they had and the way that they were happy in the first half, just careless with the ball, people trying to do too much at times, that was really frustrating. But obviously, it didn't overshadow a lot of that tonight. This is from John earlier. I feel like SP showed maybe way more energy himself tonight, and it carried over into the players, maybe correcting a little bit of that lackadaisical stuff that we had there tonight. This was a little bit of a clarification on that point. I really like the more animated the coach, unless it causes a foul. Well, look, I think Steven is going to have a lot of his father in him, but he also has a lot of his own element and his own way of doing things. And if you've seen them ever yell together, it's you can see how they can kind of match each other when they are on the coaching at the same time. But yeah, I think sometimes that's a little bit necessary as a coach to bring out that fire. And certainly if he can channel his dad just a little bit for that, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's see here. Yeah, let's take I need to do a better job of covering this part for you guys. So this is a great point by Steven to bring up. Total fouls on the day for Auburn. We have got 10, and on the other side, personal fouls 19. So that's a really good thing, and I need to do a better job, Stephen, of pointing that out in our stats part of this game. 10 to 19 is a pretty big discrepancy, maybe a little bit of home cooking there. I think you had an NC State team that was playing very scrappy, had a little bit of energy about them, saw maybe a little bit of blood in the water at times, even taking a lead a time or two. And you can understand where maybe they want to take a few chances and a few more risk on that. This from WT. Nothing gets Steven more upset, if it'll come up on screen, than a bad defensive look. Love that about him. Yeah, I keep referencing the broadcast tonight, but they were talking about how he's been the defensive coordinator under his father for years. And now that he is the head coach, he, at least as far as we know, because there's been no title given of at least quote unquote defensive coordinator for Auburn. And it would stand to reason that, he still can do that even as the head coach. So that is going to make him the most frustrated, is when they don't look good on defense, because that is what not only Bruce, but under Bruce's leadership, Steven built this program into being known for, is how well they can play defense. So obviously there are times tonight where that probably didn't reflect as well as he wanted it, but the result is the same. So rounding out our conversation this evening, your final score, 83-73. The Auburn Tigers are victorious by 10 points over the NC State Wolfpack and Will Wade. A lot of history there with the SEC, with Auburn for Will Wade. Was excited for this game. Auburn is victorious in the ACC SEC Challenge, getting that point for the SEC. We've given player of the game to Kevin Overton for making it over for NC State pretty much from the get-go. It was still a great game, but he was just outstanding tonight with 29 points. And then we settled on here in our broadcast is the most important stat of the game, that 3-point percentage for the whole team, but basically Overton and Keyshawn Hall, 55%, making up a big, big reason why the Auburn Tigers are victorious tonight, 73-83 in the confines of Neville Arena. Thank you guys for joining us and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. And as we go, I want to remind you of these things. The Auburn Creed asks you to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. We ask you to do the same. War Eagle.